Hi students, today we'll be looking at innovation and business ideas. What is innovation? Innovation is the successful implementation of new or improved ideas that create value. An idea alone is not an innovation. It only becomes an innovation when it is applied to solve a real problem or fulfill a market need. Therefore, an innovation is an invention that adds value. Let's have a look at an example of how an idea turns into an actual innovation. One idea could be an app to help students with homework. Now, this is just an idea, a hypothesis at this point. How does that turn into an innovation? It turns into an innovation when the app is downloadable on the App Store, therefore creating a value where students achieve better results and values created. Now, why is innovation important? In a global economy, businesses that stagnate, that don't do anything, they end up falling behind. Therefore, innovation helps business to stay competitive. It attracts customers by offering something unique or better, as well as making things more efficient by providing a way to do things more cheaper or quicker. It also helps to solve problems by meeting the needs that other businesses might ignore. Let's have a look at an example. In the early 2000s, Blockbuster was the king of home entertainment that focused on physical stores, whereas Netflix innovated through streaming technology. However, in 2000, Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix for $50 million, and Blockbuster said no. However, today, Netflix is worth over $200 billion. Now, this is an example of where innovation causes a business to do better. Now, let's have a look at the 4 different types of innovation. Most of the innovation fall into these 4 categories based on market and technology. First, most common innovation that you'll see is incremental innovation, where they involve small and steady product improvements. Next is disruptive innovation, where there's new technology challenging market leaders. And then we have radical innovation, where there's breakthroughs creating new industries in the market. And last but not least, there is architectural innovation, where existing technology is applied to new markets. Now let's have a look at incremental innovation. This is the most common and safest form of innovation, as it is only making continuous small improvements to an existing product in order to keep it relevant and competitive. One example of this is the different small incremental changes to cameras on the updated phones that come up on the market. This could be app updates to help fix bugs as well on phone as well as laptops or gaming features. Another example is more fuel efficient car engines. Now, let's have a look at disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation don't improve things. They change the fundamental rules of the game. They often start at the bottom of the market and eventually overtake the established market leaders. For example, Uber. Uber disrupted the taxi industry, and Airbnb, which disrupted the hotel industry. Now, let's move on to radical innovation. Radical innovation involves the birth of a brand new innovation or a 0 to 1 moment. It is very high risk, but also highly rewarding, as it involves complex research and development. Some examples are the radical innovation of the steam engine or genetic sequencing, as well as the first personal computer. Now let's think of the first smartphone. When iPhone launched in 2007, it wasn't just a better phone. in terms of incremental changes. It put together a computer, an iPod, and a communicator. Now, this resulted in a radical innovation instead of disruptive innovation because it redefined the very concept of what a mobile device would be able to do. Last but not least, let's look at architectural innovation. Architectural innovation takes components from one system and changes them for a different purpose or market. The technology stays the same, but the architecture of the business changes. One example is ordering food through an app like DoorDash. You are using existing payment and GPS and smartphone tech, but you have applied it to a new service structure. Now, let's have a look at the innovation. Innovation sits on two different parts. First is technology, where you're looking at new versus existing technology, as well as the new and or versus the existing market. Now let's summarize this in terms of the four innovation. For incremental innovation, it is using existing technology on the market for the current existing market. This is where small incremental innovations are still used on the current technology in the current market. Now, what about disruptive innovation? Disruptive innovation uses new technology for the existing market. What about architectural? Architectural uses the existing technology that is available for a new market. And radical uses new technology for a new market. Now, to sum it up, let's have a look at Tesla case study. Do businesses only use one type of innovation? No, they do not. Tesla is a good example of this, where they didn't just innovate in one way. They used multiple types of innovation together. For example, the radical innovation of the powertrain and high-density battery technology that was developed from scratch, as well as incremental innovation, such as over-the-air software updates that improves the car speed or range while you sleep.